Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. E2247 is here. Hello, relatives. Today, visits will be the greatest ever visit for once. Why do you always do that to me, my brother? E2247? Bruce Pollard, welcome aboard. It's fun to share. Yeah, follow what Bruce just said, folks. Share. That is what we've got to do to get our throughputs going. Even when you share, it doesn't only affect right now, but it affects the entire programming, the algorithms that make sure that we get views later on. So please remember to share right away. And what that does... Oh, there we go. Come on, Egberto. Don't talk twice. Be quiet. All right. So share. To see you laugh, Egberto. Eric Hayes has a long one. I'll read yours in a minute, Eric. Let's go to some other folks. Let's see. Bridge MCP, leader of the PDR Posse. Welcome aboard. Bridge MCP. We got, who else? We got Deborah John from LA. Welcome aboard. Rose Williams. Hi, everyone, says Rose. One of our great supporters. AVQ says, I am still away from Facebook and politics. Will likely remain so for a while longer. Quick share. We'll be mostly just listening from away. Brother Rudnin, we love you however you come, sir. Whether you're coming away, close by, sharing, not sharing some of the stuff you put up here all the time. Keep doing your good work, brother. Keep doing the good work. Did I miss anybody? There's somebody from YouTube who doesn't have a name, just has a little arrow which tells me, let me see if on the main page it shows up at all. No, I don't see anything there. But it would be great if you would put a name or something onto you, my dear brother or sister that's right there on YouTube. Anyhow, Eric Hayes says, let's see what he says. Eric Hayes says, hi, what does Fauci know or not? The Intercept reported on Monday that 900 new pages of previously undisclosed information from the NIH, with the Intercept obtained through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, that the EcoHealth Alliance used federal grant money to fund dangerous bat coronavirus research in the Chinese labs. The Intercept reported the bat coronavirus grant provided the EcoHealth Alliance with a total of $3.1 million, not very much money, including $599,000 that the Wuhan Institute of Virology used in part to identify and alter bat coronaviruses likely to infect humans. Even before the pandemic, many scientists were concerned about the potential dangers associated with such experiments. The grant proposal acknowledges some of these dangers. Fieldwork involves the highest risk of exposure, the SARS or the COVIDs. Well, okay, I get all of that. What I find interesting, I don't know what you guys want, those that are pushing these types of articles. Look, I believe in full transparency, find out information or whatever. The problem is that the right is trying to make Dr. Fauci somebody who has fought coronaviruses all his life, AIDS viruses, and all these other things. A scientist that just wants to do, that's been doing good for a long time. You're trying to make him a boogeyman, instead of making what needs to be made a boogie person, which is Donald Trump, for discounting how serious coronavirus we were told about and did very little about it that could have stopped and stunted the transmission of the disease. There's no reason we needed to have 600 and something thousand people dead. No reason. This was political neglect. And now you're trying to bring up Fauci did this or this other person. Look, there's a possibility that there's a virus that escaped out of the Chinese lab. That's a possibility. But there's a possibility that drugs have gotten out of our own labs by accident as well. That is a possibility. I remember there's a time when Russia shot down an American plane. And it was the worst thing that could happen. I can't believe these bad people, the Russians, did this. It was premeditated. We accidentally shot down an Iranian plane. Oh, it was an accident. It was a mistake. We have to learn to separate evil from accident, evil from things. We got to learn to do that. And one of the problems with the right is because the right is inherently evil, and I'm saying that because I mean it. Any political position that causes the death and sickness of hundreds of thousands is inherently evil. And in the process of being evil, trying to put the blame on things on others, it's sick. Right now I'm in Kingwood, Texas, a place that you would think have you would think socioeconomically it should be people who are educated. And they're still having an issue masking and vaccines. It's astounding. It is astounding. So, and when you buy into the Fauci crap, and when you buy into all those other things, you're not hurting Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci is 80-something years old. He's going to retire he's going to retire a star. He's going to retire as somebody who saved the world many times over. That's what he's going to do. And all of those that are pushing all these theories and conspiracies, they're going to be remembered for what they really are. They've gotten a lot of people killed. That's why we have all those conservative hosts that are now dying. Notice it's the local one. The national ones make sure to get vaccinated. The national one makes sure to wear their mask. You can't go to a Fox News station without a mask while they're telling other people to do the converse. Remember that, people. Bridge MCP, pink person. Bridge MCP also says that info is there just to make people look at that hand, not the one behind their back. Exactly. Eric Hayes says, not trying to anything but looking at someone who knows all sides of things, and spinning this is not correct. There is a possibility that Fauci might know something, and if it does, I don't know what. He knows how to solve problems. Yes, Egberto, evil is among all, so can't just mask it, and darkness is all around. I don't understand that, but I can tell you one thing: the folks that are effecting evil right now are those people that are getting people not to mask, or those people who are getting people not to get vaccine, or those people who are getting them killed, getting them blind, getting them liver damaged by taking evictromycin. What is it? Help me out, folks. What is that drug that the harsh drug for deworming people again? You know what I'm talking about. Bridge MCP says, how is Fauci spinning this? We have always worked with the overseas labs, and we are also physically there. And there's a reason we work with these labs. And we work with these labs because these microbes, we want to know about them early. Notice how Ebola never became the problem that a disease that is very contagious as well and actually does a lot more damage quickly. Notice how we didn't get that, because we had competent leadership in President Obama, competent leadership in Vice President, now President Biden. That's what competency does. It prevents things from happening. You know what is the problem, though? It's hard to tell people, if we didn't have Obama acting responsibly, Ebola would have decimated the world. It's hard to say that, right? But instead, we invested money in sending people to Africa and sending people all over to stop the virus where it actually, before it got on planes and all that kind of stuff. We went and we helped, we invested in doing all of that. And we created zones for up anytime we found that. But did Trump do that? No. Trump, he doesn't know anything. He was too dumb to do that. And he caused a lot of deaths, and a lot of the people that died were his own because he also wanted to play a game. AVQ, the right is inherently nuance-free and team sport. The right sees things as good or bad. Ours are ours. When we're trying to create a unified nation, they'll be reactionary against all, not theirs. Exactly. E2247 says, from the wild or from the lab, it's 50-50 according to all 17 U.S. intelligence agencies. There are 4 strong circumstantial evidences for each scenario, wild and lab. So it's 50-50, so stop arguing about it. You know, I'm not arguing about it. In fact, I am actually saying there's a possibility that it came from the lab. But I don't know what is to be gotten out of, oh, it came out of the lab. That doesn't help the 640,000 that are dying and the 1,500 that are dying every day. All right, let's see what else. Ivermectin. Thank you, AVQ. Ivermectin. I got to remember that. I got a few set in my head. Ivermectin, ivermectin, ivermectin. Eric Hayes, that has been debunked. I don't know what has been debunked. Ivermectin. Thank you, Gracie Allen. The biggest plot hole about conspiracy thinking is that it's actually more comforting to believe that evil forces control the world than nobody really does and that chaos rules. It's an I word, can't pronounce it. Ivermectin. That's Gracie gave it to us. Ivermectin. Thank you, Gracie. Eric Hayes, well, that's another petition. Queen, welcome aboard. Ivermectin, but please understand that ivermectin has long been used to fight parasites in animals and humans kingdom for a long time. The problem is people are using horse wormer. Exactly. I understand that ivermectin is a drug. It's something that it has been used, but it hasn't been researched with COVID, and prescribing it incorrectly has caused people with liver damage. There's a nurse A or whatever on Twitter, had somebody who came in with liver damage and blind and asking her, is there anything she can do for him? She said no. He said, please tell my story. Long-term consequences of surviving COVID-19 disease are not anything to get if they can be avoided. Best practice is vaccinate, mask, social distance. Exactly. Did it come out accidentally or on purpose? I don't know. But whether it came out accidentally or on purpose, if it were on purpose, that would be the most silly thing for China to do, given that it almost decimated their city. Wuhan, right? Let's see. Squido, welcome aboard. Can you talk about the lack of access to safe abortion? In Texas, there is a lot of places where you can get a safe abortion, and none of them will do it after 6 weeks because they run the risk of vigilantes, right-wing vigilantes, going ahead and suing each person in that chain for $10,000. So check this out. Somebody could say, the Uber driver, I'm going to sue him for $10,000. I'm going to sue the doctor for $10,000. I'm going to sue the nurse who helped the doctor for $10,000. The only person that gets scotch-free is the woman who's going for the abortion. Of course, they had to do that for political reasons, right? But what they don't understand is they are going to have to do everything political reason because Texans are not going to tolerate this. And you'll see a lot in some of the videos that I play, you can see that in my humble opinion, what was going to be a close election in 2022, if the Democrats prove to be good marketers of something that need to be marketed well, we should have a 2018 type landslide, because what Republicans have done is shot themselves in the foot by showing that they're nothing more than the American Taliban. Their behavior, if you take a look at absolutely everything that they're codifying into law, the Taliban could learn a lot from. And let me tell you what the Taliban could learn. The Taliban could learn how to do evil with a smile. Right now, the Taliban does evil, and it shows that they're doing evil. Well, the Republican leadership has learned how to do evil with a smile. They're doing. I mean, when you have a Abbott go on TV and sign a voter bill that restricts voting and somehow tells people it expands voting and also it prevents voter fraud. When all the fraud in Texas, 9 out of 10 fraud in Texas, which is very small amount, tiny, over the last 30 years, most of it has been done by whom again? Oh, Republicans. So the fraud that they want to solve is generally fraud that has been perpetrated by Republicans. They lie about it being opening the vote when at the same time they prevent 24-hour voting, car voting, all that kind of stuff. They stop something that we started. It is the biggest fraud, but again, the Taliban, they know they are better than the Taliban because they know how to make the same evil effected by the Taliban in an easy to eat manner. I can take away your right to vote without it looking that way. I can put chains on a woman without making it look that way. I cannot give you health care and cause the deaths of those that I don't want without making it look that way. So you understand what I'm saying. They're no better than the Taliban. In fact, they're worse because they're giving you the poison with a little bit of honey on it. Remember that, my brothers and sisters. Okay, Bridge MCP. Didn't the judge just put a hold on Texas abortion? Nope. The hold went on to a group that was suing Planned Parenthood. I think that's the limit to which it goes. Tom C. says, new Texas law allows private citizens to hold pregnant women hostage until birth. The Onion. Actually, the Onion may put it that way, right? But it's effectively, that is what's happening. Effectively, that's what's happening. Tom C. also says, optimistic researchers say there's still time to head off climate change before it starts killing rich people. The Onion. Oh, man. Tom, you're killing me. You're killing me. Eric Hayes, has Texas fixed its bonding issue through the current voting? No. Again, if the Republican Congress wants to fix the bond system, they could. You know, they're running to fix it on the from what I understand from a judge, on the misdemeanor side, as if it's the misdemeanor side that's causing the problem. The reason they don't want to fix it too well is that their supporters, the bondsmen, the people who gives out bonds, they don't want the bond eliminated. They want people to have the ability to come out on bond because they want to make that money. And who do they vote for again? The guys up there in Texas. So then the Texans say, oh, look how all those judges are releasing all those bad people. Guess who passing the law that's saying under these circumstances, these people qualify for release? Those guys in Austin. Hold them accountable. But they won't be held accountable because the bondsmen want to be able to issue bonds because they're making that 10% on that money. Think about it, people. It's not rocket science. All right, let's see. Petition Queen says the vigilantes have been empowered by the Texas legislature for passing this legislation. No exemptions other than for the life of the mother. If you were raped or an incest victim, you are SOL. Exactly. Let's see. Yeah, Bridge, he's killing us. Petition also said Abbott responded by saying he is going to get rid of rape or rape. Therefore, might we conclude he is resigning? Petition Queen, that's the statement of the day. Bridge MCP, yay, I deleted that judge thing. Squeedo, thank Bridge MCPI. Let's see what else we got here. Maywood says, happy Labor Day, everyone from Long Beach. You mean, Maywood, you didn't come to our Labor Day program, Maywood? Come on, my brother. Eric Hayes, the judges use the misdemeanor model to let violent offenders out. That is not possible. Again, read. Rose Williams. The threat of infection from bad exposure in China has been a known problem for many years. Human population has been encroaching on previous wild areas, many of which have caves that harbor huge amounts of bats. Local peasants have suffered from various kinds of local infections of zoonotic origin for years. Therefore, they're motivated to do extensive research on what diseases might be spread to humans in an effort to get in front of potential problems. This will continue to be a problem since there isn't much that can be done given human population growth. I love our team. Thank you for that. I think that's a very important message for us to understand why we invest all over into these areas, Rose. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming, for every person that supports women not having an abortion, they should be required to adopt. I like that. Bridge MCP, the infections in China are mostly from meat markets, and they have them here in New York as well. Tom C, thanks, Breeze. Sometimes a little humor helps. In this case, I think all the times humor helps. Anyway, our first video of the day is from Nicolle Wallace. She hit the nail on the head. Check this out. We'll take it then on the other side. Nicolle Wallace did a great job of assessing what's occurring in Texas with the Republican Party, but it's not only in Texas, it's throughout the country. But watch the encapsulation of what she's actually saying, and then let's take it on the other side.
Everything is bigger in Texas, including the state's lurch to the far right, with a wave of new laws now going into effect. About this phenomenon, Dan Balls of the Washington Post writes this, quote, Texas is an example of the balkanization of the country as red and blue states push further and further apart in the policies they embrace and enact. No state of note, however, has gone as far in one direction as Texas. In that way, it is a model for those who cheer those policies. Whether it becomes a political object lesson is now the question. So let's examine today's Republican priorities, with Texas leading the way. Those new Texas policies include the most restrictive abortion law in the country, outlawing abortions after 6 weeks with no exceptions for rape or incest, and where fellow citizens can receive a $10,000 bounty for turning in anyone who performs or aids or abets an abortion. There's the law allowing any Texan, and we mean any Texan, above the age of 21 to carry a handgun in public without training and without a license. Texas also enacted a law that limits school discussions on our country's history regarding race and racism. There's a new law requiring professional sports teams to play the national anthem at home games. And about that restrictive voting measure, which now bans 24-hour and drive-through voting, empowers partisan poll watchers, and restricts voting by mail, it will soon become law. While carving out space as the nation's most anti-choice governor, Texas's Greg Abbott cannot lay claim to being pro-life. No, not by a long shot. The Texas governor's reckless disregard for the health of his citizens is decidedly pro-disease and death indifferent for those living in Texas, including that state's children. While asking for help in his state's overflowing ICUs, Abbott is stridently opposed to life-saving measures like vaccine and mask mandates. And that's even as the virus surges in Texas schools, turning Texas children into the latest victims of Abbott's anti-science worldview. All of this adding up to a state whose governing policies don't match the will of its people. According to a new survey from the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas at Austin, for the first time in its polling history, a majority of Texans say that the state is on the wrong track, a position echoed in an editorial by the Austin American-Statesman, which reads, quote, here, Abbott outflanking his right-wing rivals in next year's gubernatorial primary has become more important than serving the needs, even protecting the lives of all Texans. Here, self-governance is not about serving the good of the community, but bolstering the ability of certain individuals to impose their will on others. Governing for the good of the majority isn't rocket science. It's the whole idea of a democracy, in fact. Too bad our governor still doesn't see that. The Republican Party serving up a buffet of red meat for its base.
Pro-death. Pro-death. And indifferent, pro-disease and indifferent to death. Anti-science and ready to populate the state with anyone who wants a gun to have one. Which party is pro-life? Which party believes in the sanctity of life? Which party believes in people? Which party believes in making sure one has a good life? Saying it is one thing. Living it is another. Legislating against a good life is not only probative, but it is evil. And that is what they are putting into law. That is what they are codifying. How is this any different than what we should now all call the American Taliban? They've had a lot of experience in executing. These guys have now for some time. Absolutely so. Absolutely so. I noticed that Eric Hayes questions many times, oh, China would do that and we wouldn't do it. I think it's important for us to start coming to the conclusion that people are people. They're good people and they're bad people. And all countries have good and bad in them. We've gone around the world and done harm. We've done a lot of harm here. Whenever you say things like, we wouldn't do that here, we wouldn't let out a virus here or whatever, I can point you to a lot of things that we've done. I would urge you to go and look up the Tuskegee the Tuskegee study, where they left syphilis unabated in the bodies of people of color, just to see what it would do relative to treatment of white people in those days. And they were able to figure, so to see how badly it affected folks. So every nationality, every country, every combination of anybody has the propensity to do harm to another human being. They're good people and they're bad people. Let's remember that. It'll give us a bit more humility. It'll allow us to start really looking at things the way we need to look at things. Okay, that's the way it should be. And I want, given that I brought up the Tuskegee, I'm going to go play that piece that I did on people of color and vaccines. And I want you guys to tell me what you think about what I said. Recently, Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, said, the big problem with the reason Texas and I guess other states have an issue with vaccinations and the spreading of the virus, he implied that black people were the issue. Now, he was immediately rebuffed because it turns out that there's a 3-to-1 ratio as far as black people getting COVID, infected with COVID, and being vaccinated as white people. But the one thing that has to be taken seriously is the black vaccination rate is, in fact, here in Texas, and I imagine likely around the country, to be less than that as the white vaccination rates. And there are likely reasons: availability of vaccines, areas where it's easy to just go get a vaccine without a problem. So we know that that people of color in general live in areas that are not very much conducive to getting good health care because, again, there is, in fact, systemic racism in our healthcare system. People don't like to hear the word systemic racism. They don't like to hear that. But when you look at the aggregate outcomes of in hospitals, my personal experience in hospitals and the level of care tells me that it's not just empirical with me, but it is true around the entire country. The statistics prove all of that. That said, that's enough. That is enough. I think it is a miscalculation to think that because black people, because people of color are distrusting of the healthcare system, that somehow that is the real reason why these people aren't taking or getting vaccines. And if you continue to address that in that manner, in my humble opinion, the vaccination rates in the black communities, etc., would continue to falter, because it is almost like telling these folk, Yeah, you know the healthcare system don't give a darn about you, so therefore, the vaccine. Remember the Tuskegee study. Remember when you went to the hospital, how you were treated, etc. So why take the vaccine? You know they're not in healthcare system is not good for you anyway. And a lot of people are thinking that is the kind of message that these people or that's conducive to these people not taking the vaccine. To which I say, number one, possibly that has something to do with it. But here is the major factor. Nobody is immune to disinformation. And there is every single black person, every single person of color I've spoke to, the biggest factor has been misinformation. Microchips in the vaccine. Remember the Tuskegee study. Remember, there are a lot of other various reasons that are given. But here is the major reason I think, or here is how I think it is easily counteracted. People of color think the healthcare system works better for white people. People of color know the system takes care of them, of white people more so, better than people of color. If that is the case, logic should dictate that you want to do absolutely anything possible not to be placed in the position to be in this hospital. And likewise, assuming that your belief is that the system takes care of white people more so than people of color, then if this vaccine is being taken by white people en masse, it is a reason for people of color to take the vaccine. Likewise, if you don't want to be in the hospital because you know that you are going to get less than optimal care, you want to do what's necessary not to be there. Take the vaccine. So whatever the reason is, like my opinion is that the disinformation has worked perfectly in the black community, just like it worked with Trumpsters. In fact, it has an easier way in the black community because of history. Well, we can use that same history to point out that assuming you're right, which you are, that the healthcare system is not as good for people of color, then if you see white people going in droves for those vaccines, and also you know that the vaccine is not going to kill you as long as you're getting the same vaccine that they are, and you also know that if the vaccine gives you a lesser chance of going to the hospital, and you know that the hospital doesn't treat you as well as it does white people, isn't it then a good reason for you to take the vaccine? Black people, people of color, do the right thing. Take the vaccine. It'll save your life. Out of the healthcare system. Yeah, I made that. First of all, welcome Squeedo, our latest member of our PDR posse. Let's all give Squeedo a big hooray, hooray, hooray. Before I go in and start asking folks to follow what Squeedo does, I just want to mention why I did that video. I was watching the TV and they were going through numbers and they were trying to give reasons why in certain communities people weren't taking vaccines, and they were a lot of people were trying to make the case that, oh well, it's because I guess they didn't want to throw the blame as much on POCs. And what I wanted to say is, whatever has happened in history, that is an excellent reason for POCs to get the damn vaccine. Because you know that the healthcare system treats you differently. So do everything to avoid the healthcare system. And I wrote a correspondent blog for that you probably should take a look at. But anyhow, I want to thank Squeedo for stepping up today and becoming a part of our our PDR posse. I could not possibly do any of this, and I swear to you guys all, I couldn't do all of this without you. I'd probably have to go back and write software, because something that I don't want to do, but that I do very well. But this is where we need to be. This is where we need to be. We need to be moving everybody forward. So I thank you so kindly, Squito, for being a part of the posse. We couldn't do this without you. Anybody else want to join the posse, folks? On that YouTube, whether you're on the phone or your screen, click on the join button and become a part of the PDR posse. We have several levels, from a cup of coffee to a little bit more. So please go ahead and become a part of the posse. Other ways that you can support us, go to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. In politicsdoneright.com/support, you have a whole bunch of different ways that you can support us, from Cash App to Zinger to all these other forms to PayPal, all that good stuff. And here is by the way, if you want to support us via PayPal, here is the PayPal address. You want to support us via Patreon, we need 1,000 patrons and we need 1,000 YouTube subscribers. So please consider Patreon or YouTube or PayPal, whichever one you're able to. But if you're on YouTube, click that join button, become a part, become a part, become a part, become a part, become a part. Anyhow, folks, let me go ahead and show you our cups. All our PDR posse folks with cups. Check them out on the screen there. I love my peeps. There goes Bridge MCP. There you go, Bridge. Anyhow, but yeah, it is important that we continue doing this. And the other thing that I always ask you, please share these programs as widely as possible. We get a lot of views. We're in several different avenues. So you just see a little amount of folks watching it on video live. But the biggest bang that we get is when it goes into podcasts and it goes all over the place, and we get several thousand views on these particular issues. The more you share, the more we can get our message out. The more you share, the more we can get the message out. Please consider getting my books. As I see it, Class Warfare, the ultimate resort to right-wing doom. Likewise, we have It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and the latest book, which is How to Make America Utopia. Please consider getting those. And here is the link to get all our books, politicsdoneright.com/books, politicsdoneright.com/books. Alternatively, if you go to our store, you can get our T-shirts, all of that, as well as our books. And if you get the books from us, I'll also include a bumper sticker as well as sign all the books that you get from me. Okay? So consider doing that, politicsdoneright.com/store. All right, let's continue the program. First of all, Paul says, I keep saying this until I die. Since the age of 37, my life has been in the hands of science. That being said, I've been privileged to have good health care insurance, but I've had to fight to get the right doctors. God and science has saved me from not being able to move on the left side of my body to get in full use, from losing the use of my leg and foot by getting 95% usage back. Yesterday medicine is no compassion to today. And I think we spoke about that on my show, Paul, when you were here with us. Paul's a wonderful person. Paul has been through the ringer and back, and he's shown what perseverance is all about. Paul should be considered one of our heroes as well. So kudos to you, my brother Paul. Cuomo gone into California governor to turn to go? I don't know. Let's see. E2247 says, Egberto, hospitals, doctors, etc. are as systematically racist as the fire industries, finance, insurance, real estate, aka fire industrial complex. Fire control so much of healthcare and educational complex feeders of healthcare complex. You know, you hit on something that very few know, E2247. And, you know, that is what the problem with a whole lot. There's so much that goes on in the back end that we don't know about, that when people find out, they're like, I didn't know that. And that's why you have programs like ours, because you're not going to see what you just placed there on TV on TV at all. You won't see that. Bridge says, health experts are anxious to prevent a catastrophic winter flu season. I need to get my flu shot. As with COVID, when somebody recovers from a seasonal influenza infection, they retain some level of immunity that protects them against future infections, or at least for a short period of time. Since our COVID mitigation measures prevented influenza transmission last year, there are not a whole lot of people with recently infected. So we may be entering flu season with a higher level of susceptibility than usual. That is so true. Hey, Lived It, thank you so kindly for that super chat. We just got a wonderful super chat from Lived It. Thank you so kindly, Lived It. We cannot do this without all of you. Like I constantly say, we cannot do this without you. So anyhow, folks, it is absolutely true that we need to be careful with the flu season. Jessica Taylor says, truthfully, I went where I went where it was all white people getting the vaccine. I was the only POC in the line. Did it because if I'm a die, I'm gonna die with a whole lot of white people. That is funny, but I'm gonna tell you, for my white brothers and sisters living, when I said that in the piece that I just did, right? Black people are really hesitant about the healthcare system. People of color in general, and justifiably so. I know for a lot of you, it's hard to accept that reality. I am a professional. I have all these degrees and all that kind of stuff, and I have tried to stay to hell away from the healthcare system. And the reason I have tried to stay away from the healthcare system is because it has not served me well. I remember the first time I went for a physical. The doctor said, "Oh, you're big, strong, hefty guy. You don't, let me tell you the truth. These things don't even find it." And he barely touched me. He barely touched me. And I watched him talk to other folks, and he was very, we see the difference in how you're treated based on who you are when you enter the healthcare system. You can either scream and raise hell about it, or you can mitigate it. In my case, I choose to mitigate it. I tell other people about it. And what Jessica just said there, a lot of people would kind of smirk at it, right? But what Jessica did was the right thing, because she went to a place where she says, the probability of them harming me around a whole lot of white people is not likely, so that's where I'm going to go. Let me tell you better. I went to and this is an important story. I went to St. Louis, Missouri. Netroots Nation, I broadcasted from there a couple of years ago. And we blocked the freeway into St. Louis. It was Black Lives. We were marching in concert with Black Lives Matter. In other words, Black Lives Matter came to Netroots, and Netroots is a liberal organization. It's a liberal group of all the national bloggers and politicians from all over the country. We meet 3, 4, 5,000 of us meet every year, and they came there to say, you guys come into our community, all these communities every year, but you never really do the things that support us. So this year, we said we were going to support Black Lives Matter in St. Louis. And we went, it was funny because you had in the back, there are a whole bunch of white people. In the front, a whole bunch of white people, more than the Black Lives Matter people. And then a contingent of Black Lives Matter people in the middle. And eventually the Black Lives Matter people, when they figured the cops weren't going to do any skull busting, the Black Lives Matter people took to the front. And we went up the incline to the freeway, and we eventually stopped the traffic from flowing in the freeway to have the protest. And then, because we blocked the freeway, we saw like 10 police cars coming on the other side of the freeway, running into us. And I am there filming all this stuff, and I'm like, oh God, I guess I'm gonna be arrested because I'm on the back filming. And so I'm like, oh, what's going to happen now? And then so I got close to the Politico reporter and close to the NBC reporter so that I could seem like I was, with these guys. And the cops came, they kind of blocked us up and they kind of eased us off, right? But here's what happened. The Black Lives Matter people locked hands, and then they said, our white allies, we need you now. And the white allies came around the front and formed a line and locked elbows. And when they locked elbows, it was like protection from the cops. And the cops didn't do a damn thing. The cops helped lead everybody down. There was no shoving or pushing. And we all got off the freeway after about, I think we shut down the freeway for the exact amount of time that Michael Brown was left on the ground in minutes. I think he was left 4 hours and something. We held the freeway for, I don't know, 4 minutes or something. I don't remember, whatever it was. It was some fraction of the time that Michael was left on the ground, just there like a piece of meat. But anyhow, so that is something that we did in St. Louis, Missouri, as we shut down the freeway. So when you see what Jessica Taylor says, I went ahead, we're in a wide area. And that's what I tell for those who can. If you're really concerned that somehow it's a trick on you, go where you know people are not going to get hurt. It's just another level of security in a country that's bothered by what we all know is systemic racism. Okay. Again, thank you, Lived It, for the support. You're on the screen now. Jessica Taylor, POCs are hesitant because they have been wronged and tricked so many times. May Wood, Peggy Lopez, in my interaction with black folks, I have found them to be hesitant about white folks, and I don't blame them. I so not mind having to prove myself to black folks based on history. It's funny, I went to the University of Texas, a mostly white university. I went to a high school. My last 2 years was among Americans in the Canal Zone, which was mostly white. Now, in my first 10 years of school was in the my Latin American school, so it was really black and indigenous, all that kind of a stuff. And so, I mean, a lot of the hesitation that a lot of people feel, I never did feel. I came in here and for me was, ain't nothing gonna stop me. And it's amazing how that attitude has a way of not only how you see people, but how people see you. Now, I'm not saying that people have been extraordinarily racist against me in many instances. You've seen people call here and call me the N-words and all these other things. But in general, because of my history, right, it shares a different history than others, and things kind of work out in an interesting kind of a way. So, I mean, there are so many permutations thereof. Norman Reynolds, we need to realize that climate change refugees like those who have in New Orleans will be a continuous happening from now on, changing in agriculture, sea level. Exactly. Rose, I can understand not only Tuskegee, etc., but how about all the sterilization performed on Native Americans? Not only here, but in Canada. Exactly. Egberto Lived It. Egberto, is the call light on? The call light, no, if you want to say something, the call light is not on. It's not on, and the reason it's not on is that I don't have it fired up because I didn't know I would have had time for calls today. Let's see if we can get it fired up if somebody wants to call in. I'm going to try to fire it up as we speak. Anyhow, let's see what else we got here. What else have we got here? Para ver. Bear with me, folks. We're almost there. There are two other videos that I have to show that mostly I'm going to show tomorrow because, again, you guys rule. You guys rule everything around here. Let's see. And I prefer talking to you anyway. Unless you tell me, Egberto, shut up and put the video on. Let's see if I can get to that. Somebody seemed like they wanted to call in. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that if somebody wants to call in, they can get in. Para ver. All right, you can call in now, Lived It. Call in now, Lived It. We are taking calls now. All right, Rose Williams, way to do it, Egberto. Okay, let's see what else we got. Bridge, wonderful, heartfelt story. Bridge, Egberto Willie's getting a call. Okay, I went ahead and okay, the call's open now, so you guys can call in now. It's open now. It's open now, so you can call in now. And for those who need to find out how to do it, I guess I'll go ahead and put that in the feed. There we go. That's the code to get in. So I'm looking to see if anybody's calling in now. All right. Let's see what else we got here. E2247 says, after World War II, both parties accepted New Deal system as the job of modern government to level economic playing field. Let's see what else we have here. Lived It. Guess he's on a roll. Tried getting his attention about phone call. Well, you got my attention. The problem is when I scroll down, there's a whole lot of messages that's not on time. Like I told good old Bridge MCP, Bridge, it's not like, what's the word again? You have my text. Don't forget that. You have my text. And if I'm missing something and I need to be aware of something, you and a few others have my direct text that I will get a text message right away to say, Egberto, answer the damn phone. All right, let's see. Paul Fleming, the past should never be forgotten, but if you let the past paralyze you from moving forward, then you lose. Take time and get the real facts. That is prescient. That is prescient. Okay, is anybody going to call? Because I have a 4-minute video if nobody calls. Bridge, you can text me anytime, especially when we have somebody saying they want to make a call. There we go. Here comes the call. All right, you're on the call. Come on in. Hello. I don't see your mic on, so Ernie Rosado, get your mic on, and then you'll be able to talk. Ernie Rosado, I see. There you go. You can talk. Get your mic on. Take yourself off mute. Go ahead. Rosado, I guess he hung up. He hung up. Anyhow, let's go ahead. I'm not going to do the last video because I don't have enough time to discuss it after we do the video. So put whatever else we want to talk about for the next 3 minutes. Stick it in that in the chat, and I'll be more than happy for us to start talking about that. Okay, the duck that quacks says, "Whoa, what a perk!" What is a perk, duck that quacks? What are we talking about? Jessica says, Paul Fleming, very true. You must move smarter, knowing the tactics of the past. And yeah, that is true. We should always know those things. Let's see. Eric Hayes, 7 million versus 11 million program costing more for local judge supporting, very controversial. 7 million versus 11 million program. I'm not sure. I got to read up on that. The duck that quacks, you are number 2 text. Let's see. The duck that quacks, you mean the TXT. Okay, after World War II, both parties accepted New Deal system as the job of modern government to level economic playing field between ordinary folk and those at the top of the economic ladder. That also is true. All right, here comes a call. Let's go ahead and pick that up. All right, you're on. Whoever is calling from 516.
Hey, Egberto.
Yes.
How's it going, man? It's Julius. That wasn't me in your chat there. I'm the one lived it.
Who am I? Oh, Lived It. How you doing, Lived It? Thank you so kindly
What's
for the
going
support.
on, man? Yeah, man. I haven't been around a while, but I finally caught you one time today.
Yeah, well, I am sorry for being late in picking up the calls. Bridge MCP is our resident person that is supposed to tell me when I'm screwing up, and she didn't. But I love her.
It's no worries, man. I was going to check you out anyway, man.
Anyway, talk to me. What's up?
Hey, I remember I didn't get your earlier lead into the show. I'm like just getting the time and just, tuning into you. So I was kind of listening. It sounded like you were going in towards like the problems in healthcare.
Yeah, well, what happened is we started out the program with Matthew Dowd, with what's her name, Wallace, Nicolle Wallace, talking about the Republican Party. And after that, what we got, somehow it turned to healthcare. And you guys direct the traffic. And I had a story that I told about black people and people of color being scared of the vaccine. And I was trying to point out that it's really not just scariness. It's that there's a lot of misinformation going into those communities as well. Just as it goes into the Trump community, it's going into those communities. But it is actually using things like the Tuskegee study as a form of why it is that they're
well, see, that's a significant. It's to be honest, we see what the Delta variant is doing. If you don't get vaccinated, it's going to get worse.
Yes.
And worse and worse. So we got to get around these humps regardless. However, just in a slight bit of contextualization here on an attempt, there is a difference between those people who are Black, Latino, Native American, people largely of color in the country who have these hang-ups because of a dark past in actual history, such as the Tuskegee experiment.
Right.
Now, that was something that actually happened. A lot of this Alex Jones, Fox Noise stuff that's going on today with the RFID chips and whatever else they're talking or babbling about, these things have no basis in reality.
Right.
They're so fictitious, it leads them to take horse dewormer. This is how we're taught. You know, I don't want to be offensive here, but it's insane.
Actually,
Yeah,
I'm lived it. I'm with you, right? I'm completely with you on that. And but what I was trying, and I think that Jessica Taylor in our chat room said it best. If you're really concerned about those issues for real, right? Then you if you have the wherewithal to do what Jessica did, that's one way around your concern.
Indeed.
You know,
Indeed.
so I mean, and to put it blunt, like I've explained, we know when we go into certain areas. When I say we, I mean myself and people of color. I think you're a white guy, right?
No, I'm not a white guy.
Oh well, I don't know, Mike. I mean,
I grew up in a Latino household, but I'm Moreno. I'm black.
Oh, tú eres moreno. Okay, all right. Well, the only reason I say that is, a large percentage of our great folk here are good white folk, progressive, conservative. I got my posse. You guys are my posse. All that good stuff. So I don't know. I just kind of assumed. That's all.
You know something? This is now, ironically, that's a whole nother conversation. But because no one broadly, we never talk about quote unquote American culture,
Right.
but it actually exists. As destructive and chaotic and crazy as it is, it actually exists, and it's largely like that because no one grabs the reins of it and claims it, right?
Right.
But largely, it's usually people of color. Here in New York, I grew up in Queens. Here in New York, typically it'll be Black, Latino, inner city Italian. It's largely that type of crowd where you have to. It's almost like people get taken aback if you're not white in certain circumstances. And this is something that largely minorities go through in the country, only here, like ironically. But,
I mean, it is amazing, but that is how the country was culturized, right? And that is what we have. That is what we are changing, and that's why, one of the reasons.
This is why all the Yanks.
Exactly. That's why I love our posse, right? Our posse is really an American posse, right?
The way it should look.
Yeah, this is what it should look like. And this is what the posse is supposed to look like. And it's great. We got everybody here. We got I mean, every part of the spectrum. And I think it's actually proportional. I mean,
it should be. I mean,
it is actually proportional to the country, man.
Bertha, one time, man, I was talking to some people. I was in City College uptown. I had a group of friends we were talking about. This was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it had dawned on us. This is why I remember the last time I got to speak to you, I was saying foreign policy, foreign policy, foreign policy, and I never got to shoot you that email. A lot unique to America, unlike any other country on earth, if you think about it. Unique to this country here, its culture and domestic policy here is largely fashioned by its policies abroad.
Yes.
It's formestic policy.
Yes.
It's a joint. And I was trying to, go down that road of discussion with you like a few weeks ago. Last time I called in.
Let me tell you,
and
lived
then
it.
Afghanistan blew up.
Lived it. You hit an important nail. We can't do it right now because I'm at 401 right now. But let me tell you something.
But
first of all, I want to apologize for not seeing the thing. I know my beautiful Bridget is gonna text me the next time and say, "Son of a gun, answer your damn phone." She'll say that the next time. So but anyhow, let me just say
salute
this.
to her, man.
Let's call in more. And folks, whenever, a lot of times, if I have so much material that I don't think I'm going to take a lot of calls, and you guys want to call in, just send a message. Hey, I want to call in, and I'll just can 2 of the videos or whatever, like I did today, because I rather have that interaction, and the videos will always be there. Okay, so let's remember that.
Man.
Lived it. I appreciate your call. I appreciate your support. You guys are all
always,
my posse heroes. All right.
Full support, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Take it easy, man.
All right, folks, we got to get out of here. Again, please remember to support us at politicsdoneright.com/support. If you're on YouTube, click that join button and become a part of our posse. Otherwise, go to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support, and you have all the different methods that you can support us right here. And look, we can't do this without you. We cannot do this without you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.